I think we are live. Let me make sure we've got audio before I start rambling. Get my brushes set up. Okay, let's see. What do I want to use tonight? Oh, yep, I think I've got audio. Yep, there is definitely audio. Okay. Mute all my speakers. There we go. How are you guys doing tonight? You may hear extra noise. My husband is working from home and he's in the other room. So if you hear talking, it's not as creepy as it might otherwise be if you didn't know someone was supposed to be in the other room. Let's see. I'm still coughing from allergies, so no, I'm not sick yet. This is definitely just allergies for me. I've spent, if you follow I guess not my Facebook, my personal Facebook, you've seen some of my landscaping I've been doing. I have spent a lot of time outdoors lately, and now all I want to do is sit outdoors and look at all the work I did. And so, yeah, the coughing got worse from that. It does go away the longer I stay inside though, so bonus there. So tonight I am working in Inktense. Just for transparency, these Inktense blocks were provided to me years ago by Derwent. As you can see, they last a really long time. So these are the blocks. I'm not using the pencils tonight. I'll use the pencils once I get further into this piece, so later on in the week. No, it is not a raccoon, Monica. This is a red panda. And hi everybody, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, this is going to be a Surreal piece. This was the one I was going to do. So Derwent was going to do an artist feature on me. They had the whole film crew set to come out, and this was the project I was going to work on, but that obviously got canceled. Oh, look, I forgot to paint my nails again. I just now noticed that. That was on the to-do list for earlier. But anyway, they were going to do the artist feature, so that's what this was designed for, but that is now being pushed back, so I'll design something else for when that eventually happens. In the meantime, we can just go ahead and start this guy. And this one's going to be a little bit different because I'm going to attempt to airbrush the Inktense for, not tonight, that will be later. Well, I'll experiment on that on my own, but I want to airbrush this out of focus, cloudy background scene with the grass and all of this. That will be, yes, I'm experimenting on this one is the moral of that story. But I've got my succulents here. These are from my own photos, reference from my own succulents. The red panda comes from wildlifereferencephotos.com. If you were looking for amazing, and this is, I'm not like associated with them at all, but if you are looking for amazing photos of wildlife, that website, oh my gosh, you will find some amazing stuff. And you can get a pack of 5 for $10, like 5 amazing high quality reference photos. I went shopping the other night, as you can see. And then you get, the nice thing with that, you know for sure you've got full royalties, or you're fully allowed to make prints, sell the artwork, no problems there as far as royalties go. This is going to be a moon, and I'm going to have little bees going into the holes of the moon. So that is the plan for this piece. We'll see how that all works out. You never know sometimes with these ideas. Let's see, get caught up on some questions before I get started. We've got, let's see, where am I? Baby Panda said, I hope you and your family are well. How did your studio tour go, or was it rescheduled? Yeah, that was rescheduled. We don't know for when. We know it will happen. We just don't know when. So Derwent is doing, they have a group called, I believe it's the Art of Wellness on Facebook. So I recently joined that, and they've asked a few artists to do some demonstrations with, in this case for me, it would be with Inktense. So that's kind of a cool group. If you're not already in that, look up the Art of Wellness. And they've got just little short, small, like 30-minute tutorials. Just quick little projects you can do if you, I'm guessing everyone's stuck at home right now. So that, I say stuck at home, but as artists, most of us are probably happy about that fact. So that is a really cool group with some tutorials from people Derwent has pulled in for this. So definitely recommend that. I probably should have put a link in the description, but that one's going to be cool. Let's see. Sergio said, good to see you're safe and sound. Fur, I knew it. Yeah, Sergio, if he commented on Facebook earlier, he thought it was going to be something furry. He thought fur or scales for tonight's project. Also, I never realized until today how small your Italian Greyhounds were to Gibson. Yeah, the Italian Greyhounds are about 10 pounds. Gibson is 65. So there's a huge size difference, and that's why when you've seen me post photos of them, why, especially in the beginning, Gibson had to wear a muzzle. Even if he just tried to play with them and wasn't trying to hurt them, he's just so much bigger than them. But now they do great together. He's really good with them, except sometimes he wants to play with Echo, the younger of the two. Jessie is very, very old and ancient, and I think he knows that. He's pretty gentle with her, but he wants to play with Echo, and he smacks her with her paws, so I have to, you know, be there to moderate so no one gets their spine crushed by a 65-pound racing noodle. Okay. Let's see, are we all caught up? Baby Panda said, I love red pandas. How could you not, though? Seriously, they must be one of the cutest animals in the world. Let's see, and make sure if you want to ask a question or leave a comment that I would read, make sure you do the @Lachri Fine Art. If it does not highlight in orange, I won't see it. It's not that I'm trying to ignore you, I just won't see it, usually. Let's see. We've got Demetra says, hi Lisa, good to see you. I'm glad you're here tonight. Thank you so much for everyone joining. Okay, now let's get started. So what I'm going to do, I've got a few brushes here I'll play around with, and what I'm doing is lining everything in. So normally when you see me paint, I will paint from the background and work my way forward. It's a little bit different. Inktense is the one medium that I do almost, not completely the reverse, but I jump a little bit around. I'm going to go through and use a deep purple color and get in a lot of my details, the fur marks, all of this in here, the shadows and the grass. I'll start lining the succulents. Oh, I missed some branches or little leaves over there. But I will be lining all of that first with, sometimes I'll use black, sometimes like tonight, I'm just going to use purple since this is a daytime scene. If it were a nighttime scene, I would probably just jump straight to black. But because this is day, I don't need my shadows to be that deep. At least not yet. So if I put all of that in first, once this dries, and I paint it in very much like I would use a watercolor pan, which you'll see in just a moment. Once this dries, I'm able to brush more paint, or ink in this case, on top of it. It doesn't really smudge, it doesn't really move. It's not like watercolor. Watercolor will lift. Inktense will not if it's mixed thoroughly, which you'll see me do in a moment. So by lining all of this in, I'm getting all of those details that just, they're all in place. I don't have to worry about losing my pencil lines, blending over anything. It's all very easy. Vesna said, hi Lisa, I'm trying oils over acrylic for the first time. Ooh, have fun. That's one of my favorites for sure. Hi, have you ever tried, excuse me, to draw on an iPad? What's your thoughts on digital art? I love digital art. Not a fan of Apple products. I will not buy them. I have a little bit of an issue with how they run their company and some, the limitations. I'm an Android fan, so you've got that whole battle. I like the freedom to be able to do what I want with my device. Apple's a bit more limiting, a lot more limiting. And I've had too many issues with that where it just, there was some anger on my side of things. So but I do digital painting on, what color is this going to be? I guess I should check. I do digital painting on both my Wacom tablet and my Samsung tablet. So I love digital painting. Absolutely love it. Very, very fun. What is this? Okay, so the color, what I'm doing, I usually will have a sketch pad next to me when I work with Inktense blocks, or pencils really, but what it looks like in the block, very different than what it looks like once you add water. This has that nice kind of deep violet color that I want. You look at the block and it just looks black. So I've got to test that to make sure it really is what I want. So we'll go ahead and stick that over here. And actually, let's clean this out. So with this set of Inktense, you've got these little mixing wells in here. And all I need to do to clean these is get a paper towel, which right now I cringe every time I use another paper towel because we all know about the shortages going on. So I'm like, no, don't use the valuable paper towels. I will say one good thing about this whole mess is it has made me very aware of how wasteful I typically was with paper towels. Now I'm using hand towels, which I have a million of. Why have I not been doing that before? Not so much for art, but for just everyday use. So I'm glad to be a bit more conscious of how wasteful I tend to be. But now even every time I use paper towels at all, I'm like, oh my gosh, don't use the valuable paper products. But I'm just going to take a paper towel and wipe that off. And you can see, even though that was dry on there for months, it just comes right out. It wipes out. You can also use a water well, like a watercolor palette, the little glass ceramic ones. Those work real well. I'm just going to use this. And what I will do is make an ink mixture by blending that out. I'm just gonna keep adding more and more water. Now Derwent makes, and I don't have this yet, a little grater that you can grate the blocks and then add water and make a mixture that way. I have not tried that, but it makes sense that it would work. But what I typically do is just keep adding water, make a nice mixture. The more water you add, the lighter it's going to be. So let's say I wanted a really light magenta type color, or plum color, or whatever color we want to call this, I would just add a lot more water and let more of the white of the paper show through. So I'm not going to add white to it to lighten it up, which you may think would be the way to go. You can, but you're going to get a more pastel color and more opaque. Here, I would just, if I want it very light, add more water. Here, I don't want it very light, so I'm going to make it fairly thick. I won't use too much water. I'll use a decent amount of ink in this. Let's get some more water in there, though. I'm just scooping that from my water well into there. Okay. Mackenzie said, what website did you mention that has nature pics? Wildlifereferencephotos.com. Wildlifereferencephotos.com. All one word. Wonderful site. You will be there for a very long time. What digital program did I use or recommend? I use Photoshop mainly for my digital painting, but I also have, oh gosh, what is it? And I love it. And maybe someone can remember. I have a video here where I use why can't I, it's been too long since I've done digital painting, clearly. But I do have a video here. If you look up just Lachri and digital painting, you'll see one that I did on my Samsung Galaxy, what was it, an S3 tablet. And whatever program, I cannot remember for the life of me what I used, but I really liked that program a lot for the tablet. The blending features, like there was just a lot to like about that program. I think I'll just focus mostly on his head here. And if I go too dark, it doesn't really matter because I can come back through with the white Inktense block. The white Inktense block will come out very, very opaque when it dries. So this is just a very forgiving medium. If something goes wrong, it does not matter. Like I can fix pretty much anything. So just watching which direction his hair falls. Let's see. Rebecca Fine Art said, I asked previously if you think it's worth starting Patreon with only a low tier 1 or 2 tutorials. I just wanted to say thank you. I bit the bullet and started Patreon. Nice. Good job. Yeah, it's funny talking about Patreon. There's a thing in the Patreon. They have like a forum, which I don't find to be super useful because most of the people who are on the forum and asking advice, they don't know what they're talking about. We'll just go with that. But one person wrote a thing saying how he doesn't understand. He did a video and his videos don't perform. He doesn't have any other social media besides now just recently. He just started YouTube. So he does not have a following at all. The type of stuff he does, he admits no one is interested in. And YouTube, he says it doesn't perform well on YouTube, which means no one's interested in it. That's why it doesn't perform well. But he went on and I felt bad for the guy, but it's like, he was wasting so much time. He went on about how he made a full 10 course tutorial or lesson plan on Patreon. He started that at the exact same time as he started his YouTube channel, the same time. So he had no following. People don't understand with Patreon, if you don't have a following, no one's going to sign up because they don't know you're there. It's not like eBay where people go shopping for patrons to sign up for, or in eBay's case, items to purchase. So he was frustrated, and I felt bad for the guy. He was frustrated that he wasted so much time, he felt, on the first course of 10 classes, and now he's doing another course of 10 classes. And it's a really it's kind of an out there concept. It's not art, by the way. What he's teaching, it's I can't imagine there being a market for it. I could be wrong, but it was kind of weird to begin with. But he was saying how he put all this work into the classes. I mean, tons and tons and tons of hours, and nobody signed up, and he wants to know how to make sure that doesn't happen again on his next course. And it's dude, you have no following. If you don't have a following, you can't get people to sign up for Patreon. It doesn't matter how good your courses are. If people don't know you exist, it all goes hand in hand. So I felt really bad that he was putting so much work into his work, but it was I do think I wish more people realized you want to kind of do that together, get that social media following going first, because he's putting all this work in for nothing. No one's there, no one's signing up, so it's not really worth his time yet. Now, maybe he'll get a following. I doubt it. He says that his stuff won't perform well. Well, he's got a new channel. Nothing performs that well when you've got a new channel. But yeah, it was kind of sad because he just didn't really get that the reason they weren't performing on Patreon is because he had nothing, no people followed him. And I'm like, I'm not sure how you thought that was going to work out for you, but yay. I know you've got a following, Christy. I'm glad that you got that going. That's awesome. Sorry, total random rant. Lori said, oh my God, my poor hands and nails. Okay, I know from all the hand washing. Mine are bad right now. My nails not being painted. It's because of all the gardening I've been doing. There was no reason, even with the gloves, the water soaks through. So I didn't bother then, but the main work I had to do is done. So I can go back to having at least slightly nicer looking nails. Thank goodness I do my own, because I feel bad for people who go and have it done right now, like acrylics and stuff that like they can't do on their own. They're going to have some funky nails for a while here. Although I imagine no one's going to judge them since we're all pretty much in the same boat. Let's see. Oops, that scrolled too far. Let me get back up here. What am I scraping? Are you scraping off the stick? No, Lori, it's water. My brush has water and I'm just like dissolving the stick like you would with a watercolor pan, only it's in stick form and letting it fall into this area. Now, the really cool thing is, let's say I was doing acrylics. This part would start to dry. You just have to add more paint. Not with Inktense. When it dries, I just add more water and it refreshes it because it's on plastic. That's not the case on paper, but on plastic, it'll kind of refresh and I can keep using that same bit that I have mixed here. Let's see. Heather said, Art Rage. Yes, I think that was it, Art Rage. Thank you guys. Jenny also says Art Rage. Yes, and I loved that program. Yet, apparently not enough to remember the name. I don't remember my name half the time though, so that's not saying much. Nick said, Bearfield asked, trying to learn this YouTube for teaching at my school. Do you have a specific video on how you work YouTube setup? I don't, but I recommend look up Tim Schmoyer. I'm trying to think of Tim Schmoyer. Is it Roberto Blake? Daryl Eves? These are some names. Look up them and they're going to walk you through as far as the setup a lot more than anything I can teach you. But no, I don't have any videos specifically on it, although this would probably be a really good time to do something for you guys, but I don't. But look up, Tim Schmoyer is Video Creators. I guess I should give you the actual name of his channel. Video Creators is my favorite. You've also got Roberto Blake has some great videos, and Daryl Eves has some really good videos that'll kind of walk you through. And there are a ton of people out there who make videos specifically on teaching you how to do YouTube well. But those are the three that pop into my head first. Let's see. Gail, no, Lightroom is what I do to edit my photos. It's not what I use for actual digital painting. I love that program too. Miss Violet Sky said, I'm working on a lily pad piece using only the Inktense Pencils after watching your video of the dolphin and the Derwent tin. Really enjoying it so far. Thanks for the inspiration. That is awesome. Please share with me when you've got it done. I'd love to see it. Let's see. Whoop, that scrolled too far. Carla said, I came in a little late. Did you say what kind of paper is best? I am working right now on Arch's hot press watercolor paper. They are definitely, when it comes to water media right now, definitely my favorite. This is a 16 by 20 inch. I used to use the Fabriano Artistico and I still like it okay for colored pencil. Not a huge fan on it when I'm going to be like watercolor or Inktense. It warps a lot more. And this one's a little bit warped just from my last messy painting I did on it. I went overboard on the water without pre-stretching stuff. But anyway, that's my personal favorite at this point. But with Inktense, you're pretty free to use a whole lot. I mean, it works well. You can paint on fabric with Inktense. Like you can paint your shoes. It works really well with most things. I've seen people use it on cold press. I've seen people use it on a hot press. Watercolor paper, you've got a lot of options there. Now I want it to thin this out so it's not quite so bold. So what I'm going to do is just thin that with water. So my marking will be way lighter. we go. Let's see, I can use the same color and make it lighter. I don't have to mix white with it. I just have to mix more water with it. Let's see, Midwest Monster said, with this medium, is it best to work dark to light, light to dark? Does it really matter? I find as long as I'm using the Inktense blocks, the white block is so opaque when it dries. So if I decide I need something lighter, I just put that on and then put whatever color I want over it once it's dry. When you put it on, it comes out translucent. Let it dry and it goes super opaque. So I can cover anything. I can work light to dark, dark to light. It does not matter. Whatever you're comfortable with, I find to work just fine. In this case, I'm doing my lining first, which is a little bit backwards. You would not typically see me work this way in almost any medium, but it works really well with Inktense. I find that I really like working this way. There we go. I had a little bit too much on there. Let's get some little hairs. We've got to switch direction of the fur here. It starts getting a little bit longer. Works its way back out this way. You want to really watch when you're painting fur, no matter what medium you're working in, watch the direction of the fur. It will change directions constantly. One of the mistakes that I see a lot of people make, they'll start doing fur and they'll make a couple of brush strokes and think, wow, that looks great. It looks like fur. So they do the same brush stroke everywhere. Well, now you don't have fur. Now you have confetti. So you want to make sure to pay attention to your reference photo and watch the direction that that fur is moving. Let's see, Elaine said, no other videos till after you do the how to photograph your art. Yes, I do need to do that. Well, I've got to do, let's see, on Friday, my plan is to edit, I forget which painting. I'm editing some painting, like a normal edited YouTube one, but I also need to do a vlog. Like my goal is to start having one tutorial, one vlog every single week. And then the live stream, of course, and then a Patreon video. But right now, well, not right now, it's been very, very difficult because the construction, it's just been so loud across the street. The two houses they were building are just about finished. Like they're putting in the landscaping. They've actually got all the grass rolled out in front of them right now. So that's about done. So it's quieting down to where I can actually work during the day. One of the problems I'm having is, yes, I could paint during the day and then edit at night. My brain will not let me paint in the day. Like I have a really hard time painting in the day. I hate it. If the sun is out, I don't want to paint. So, I've basically just been doing the live streams, well, you guys know that, and the Patreon videos. So now that that's about done, I'm hoping to get back to my normal schedule because the first half of my day is like, I'm not really accomplishing anything right now just because it had been so noisy, but that's about done. There's one more house, one over from that. So it's not directly across from me, but still close. We'll see how noisy that is when they start that house. But I'm hoping, I mean, and they get these built so quick that at least within a few months, I'll be completely back to a normal set schedule. But that is coming soon. And yes, the how to photograph your art is one of the first vlogs I need to do. And like how easy, this is what I love. Like whenever possible with your art, try to simplify the process if you can. Don't overthink it. I see where people try to do paint by number. One, I don't like the look of paint by number style paintings myself, but they also try to get everything done, like just put the right color in the right place, which is typically what I would call paint by number. Now, I don't mean to bash, if you're having fun doing paint by numbers, do that. That's different. But I mean, people who are trying this, but in a paint by number fashion where just put the right color in the right place, you're making your life a lot harder than it needs to be. There's a layering process and an order to things that you can just simplify it. All I have to worry about right now are which direction the fur marks go. And that's it. That is all, really. I mean, I'm not worrying about the color. I'm not worrying about my values. I don't have to worry about anything else right now. I really simplify the process by coming through and only blocking in where his fur is going to go. Then what I will do is glaze color. So thin down paint, or ink in this case, thin it down, and I just put the color where it goes, almost like a coloring book. And I'll go through and do some shading with this stuff later too. But you can simplify the process a whole lot and make your life so much easier, which I am a huge fan of. I definitely, when I first started with art, I was definitely making things way harder on myself, trying to overthink the process. And it's like, whenever possible, even now, I'm more advanced now and I'm still going to simplify it as much as I can. Make your life easier. Let's see. Sergi said, would you consider some mixed media pieces like Winsor & Newton pigment markers as a base and colored pencil on top? I tried that. Not a super huge fan of the results. Hold on, this is scroll too far. Let me get back to where I was here. It was, the colored pencil doesn't like to stick that well on top of, because I'm going to use the Winsor & Newton pigment markers I use on Yupo paper. The Yupo paper, the colored pencil just does not want to stick that well. So I've done a few, the results, I mean, I like the end painting, but I'm not a huge fan of those working together. But other mediums like colored pencil and graphite, I like those together. You know, there are other mediums, watercolor and colored pencil I really like together, that I think I should do. I think that's a good idea, doing a few more mixed medium pieces, because I actually really do like working in mixed media. I have no good reason for you as to why I haven't done that lately. And I did get, if you saw, I posted on Instagram and I think Facebook, I got the new 72 set of Derwent Light Fast pencils, so we'll be doing a review of that pretty soon here. I'm really excited about that. They're absolutely beautiful. And we already know I like them because I liked the smaller sets, so well, I'm excited about that. Let's see. Art Freak, excuse me, asks, does Inktense reactivate on paper with water? No, not really. Not if it's mixed well. So let me show you what I mean by that. This is actually a good question, and I think something really good to share. So let's do that for a second. So if I take, I'm just going to use a bigger brush so that I can get a bigger mark on that. As long as it's mixed well, so we'll make sure there's a good amount of water mixed in there, it's dissolved completely. Notice that I didn't just, okay, so I started by just scraping off the block. If I do that, I'm not mixing it completely, and that is a very important point. What I did, I pulled it, and now I'm mixing it in here, so it really gets dissolved on that brush. If I just scoop off the block, it dissolves somewhat, but not 100%. This helps it really dissolve in its separate thing. So I put that here. We'll just go ahead and scribble a little bit of that. I'll leave that to dry. And then I take the same block. We'll just scribble a little bit with the block itself. What happens is no matter how much water I add, I'm probably not going to get this dissolved all the way. So we'll go ahead and do this. Now the color's a little bit different because there's black from my palette is mixed in with it. That's why there's a shift in color there, but we'll go ahead and do that. I'll try to mix it really well. Let's go ahead and dry this now. So plug your ears. Here comes the hair dryer. Okay, we're gonna let that set for just a second to cool. But two things that have happened here that you're gonna notice a difference between this. One, the color, but like I said, because my color, this had other colors in it, so black is mixed in with this one. The color would be pretty much the exact same. The other thing, and I don't know if this really shows on the camera, but this side is a bit grainy, it has a grainy, gritty look because it never dissolves 100%. Sometimes that gives you an awesome effect. And when I use the blocks straight onto the paper, for me, it's always like final layers that I don't want it to blend out, where I want this rough textured look. But if it's something I'm going to blend, I always blend in this first. Now this just comes down to personal preference. It's not a matter of this is the right way, this is the wrong way. This is the right way for how I want it to look. So, you know, if you're getting the results you want, you can do it however you like. Let's still warm. Let that cool for a second. And you'll see what I mean. It may smudge a little on this one, but it should, if it's gonna smudge, you're gonna see it more on this one. Let me make sure that brush is really clean. Otherwise, it's not going to be a good example. Yeah, that's clean. Okay, so if I take water, this one shouldn't smudge very much, if at all. A little bit, not a whole lot. This one's gonna smudge a lot more. See how much darker that gets? Well, now I've got it lifted from this side, but I'm gonna get it much darker on this side because those bits, it's like it sticks to the paper when you use the block directly on the paper and it doesn't ever completely dissolve with your brush. But it's not a lot. It doesn't lift, it's not like watercolor would be. It's very, very little. You're not gonna see a huge shift there. And it comes down to how well did you get that dissolved, because once it's dry, it is permanent, but you'll get a little bit. This much is so little, it may just be from my brush being a little bit dirty, but you see that a lot more on this side just because, and I can pull it up this way too, you've got bits in here that are that grainy gritty area that are not completely dissolved in the water. And so that's where you're getting a bit of that smudging. It's minor. And you can see the edge, like the edge is still crisp. That is harsh. It's not like watercolor. With watercolor, I can pretty much lift, depending on the brand you're using, but I can pretty much lift completely most of what I just put down. And you're not gonna get that. You'll get minor smudging, but nothing major. But look at how much less you're gonna get as far as the color shift there. I don't know if you can see that. It's way lighter on this side because I mixed it really well here and didn't just go straight from, put the block on there and then mix it. So hopefully that explains some of that, because that's actually a common question. People will complain, well, it still smudges even after I blend it. Not that much, a minor amount, an amount I'm not even concerned about, especially as you can see, actually, this might show you better. Can you see the difference in how much darker the one that I applied the block straight to the paper is versus the one where I mixed it, pre-mixed it, and then went on the paper? Very little smudging. And if I let it set a little bit longer, it'd be even less, but that's about what you can expect. Now with the pencils, yes, you're still gonna use a paintbrush and water with the pencils, but the pencils are similar to the blocks in that you use the pencils directly on the paper, when I put the block on this side, use the pencils on the paper, it never really dissolves all the way. So I use the pencils more for areas that I don't need really smoothly blended, or I plan to wipe things over it, because if I were to do something with a pencil, blend it out and then wipe a brush across it's going to smudge that even more. So you just have to kind of know that's how it works and plan which method you're using accordingly. If I don't want it to smudge, I need to mix it separately in here. If I'm okay with it smudging a little, I can work directly with the block or the pencil on the paper. Or if I'm not gonna blend it, then directly on the paper is fine too. So you just gotta, like I said, plan which method you're going with. Like here, I do not want this to smudge very much, if at all. So I'm mixing it well in the separate little container. That was a really good question. Clark Fine Art says, can you use a paintbrush? Okay, we got that one. You can use a paintbrush with water on the pencils, but like I said, it does a little bit smudge. It's still going to smudge some, so you have to plan for that. You're not going to do I wouldn't take the pencils and do my lining first and then plan to glaze color on top, or wash color on top is a better word there. But I wouldn't plan on doing that because it's going to reactivate all the pencil work. This is not going to reactivate really. I mean, like you said, or you saw on the paper, very, very little of this is going to budge. Or smudge, maybe that's a better word. Thanks, Ryan. This is a red panda. Let's see. Lisa, is there an alternative to Ganbare? Probably, but not that I'm aware of. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, there are other options. They just aren't going to work quite the same. Ganbare is definitely my favorite because you can apply it. It's an oil paint for those of you who are unfamiliar. It's a varnish used on top of oil paints, and you can apply it as soon as the painting is dry to the touch. Unless you're painting thick with a palette, people will argue that. Well, I don't paint thick with the palette, so that's not my concern. But if you're painting like I do, where everything's very smooth, you can use very, very quickly versus waiting 6 months like some of the Winsor & Newton products. So you could use one of the other products. You just have to wait longer before they're, look at the directions and wait longer before you're able to use them, before you're able to use them. But I don't know of anything that's as good. Christy said, how are you going? Are you self-isolating more than usual? My life hasn't changed a whole lot, to be honest, other than I may not have as big of a selection on foods as I would, and I'm not eating out. And chancing, I guess I can work while I ramble. I'm not chancing eating fast food or anything like that. Right now, some people are having deliveries, which is cool. But for me, because I have celiac disease, so with celiac, if I accidentally get gluten contamination, it causes a hit to my immune system. I will be sick and have pretty much no immune system for the next 2 weeks. So right now, I do not need a weakened immune system. So I'm not chancing eating out at all, which is good. I need to get in the habit of cooking more at home I just talked my husband into cooking, but I need to get more in the habit of eating at home and not eating fast food. I only eat fast food twice a week, but still, I don't even need it that much. So no, this is, for me, it's not really affecting me other than that my husband is working from home now. He just started that yesterday. He did have to go in for a bit today, but hopefully he won't have to much more after that. But no, it's, I'm very lucky. I think a lot of us artists, if our career is working from home, it's not going to hit us as far as like the social change as it does a lot of people. So I guess we're pretty lucky in that. The only difference, like I used to go shopping more, go do errands and stuff on my husband's 2 days off. So right now I'm avoiding that. Like I do have to go to the fish store tomorrow and get salt water for my aquarium. We're good on dog food. We went last week and got my normal, and it was my normal. It wasn't like I'm hoarding it. I normally get a month's worth of raw from a lady. She's about 45 minutes from us, so we don't want to be going every week. So I get a month's worth then. Now, whether or not she is starting to run low. I mean, people are hoarding that like crazy too. So she's having a hard time keeping up with the demand. I may have to switch my dogs back to kibble, which I do have here if needed, if that keeps being hard to get the raw meat. But so there are definitely some inconveniences there for us, just making sure I can take care of the animals, I guess, it is the challenge there, the stress there. But I've got backup plans and alternatives, like I said, with the meat. If that falls through, I've got kibble. You know, they don't mind. The dogs think kibble's fun because it's different for them. But yeah, other than that, we're pretty much, there's not a big change. My husband is going a bit stir crazy. He is not used to being at home or working from home. Like yesterday was his first day working, and we have it's like a little mini cubby office type thing that's built into the house. So, which is perfect for him. But the problem I had with him being there is that he just sat, well, not problem I had with him being there, but he is used to moving and walking constantly at work. Well, now he's sitting still working on the computer and he's not moving. Like from what time? Like noon until 9 p.m. last night, he did not get up. He got up like twice. He ate lunch at his desk and kept working. Like, he's going to end up really sore if he doesn't make himself get up and take breaks. But his response was, well, there's no one to cover for me if I'm not there. And it's like, well, they're going to have to deal with you being absent for 20 minutes here and there to go walk around, because he's going to end up super sore. So he's not used to working from home. I'm going to have to, I guess, teach him how to do it. But so that's a little bit different, having him here. But no, other than that, we're pretty much the same. He said, were you able to get all your groceries in one go, or do you have to go daily like us in Australia because shelves are bare? Well, I'm just not that picky about what I eat, as long as it sticks with being gluten-free and ideally avoiding carbs. So the shelves were super bare because we typically just get what we need. We go several times a week is what we normally would do. My husband would just go by after work and get whatever we wanted. But we did go and do a big grocery shopping bill. So we've got enough for the next week or two here, if not more. It just may not be what you want, but it's fine. We did go that day though. I was like, I have to get produce because that was being bought out, which was funny. I'm like, people, you can't hoard produce. Like, it goes bad. What are you doing? But we were able, luckily people must have figured that out this time. I was able to get a bunch of stuff. So I feel so much better this week than last week. My gosh, I felt terrible last week from eating so many carbs because that's all we could find. So yeah, that is what's going on with that. Hopefully it'll back down. I mean, like I said, we've gotten like, as far as meat goes, we'll get, he was able to find frozen chicken. We can't find normal fresh chicken. So we get stuff that isn't maybe our norm, but it's fine. It works. I mean, I'm perfectly fine eating a handful of almonds for dinner. Like I'm not one who makes dinner and goes, okay, I need a starch and I need a vegetable and I don't care. I will just eat the vegetable. Like, it doesn't, we get, the cauliflower with potatoes or whatever, where it's like mashed potatoes, but it's really cauliflower. I get that all the time, and I just eat that for dinner. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that as my dinner. I don't need other things in with it. So I'm definitely not normal, but me not being normal makes the whole transition to not being able to buy the groceries you want a lot easier. Like, there's my neighborhood, I know, I see people complaining all the time. They can't find rice, and I don't know why they need rice. I'm like, that has very little nutritional value. I'm not sure why that's such an important thing for you right now. But they're trying to make full meals, and it's like, that doesn't even cross my mind because it's not how I make things anyway. I'm not saying my way is the right way. It's probably not as nutritionally balanced, but it's just nothing's that different for me right now, I guess. Heather said, when painting a panda that is greenish blue water, what should I use for the white fur? I'd have to see the photo, but I would pull some of those. I'd probably pull more blues, but blue's kind of closer to the green, but not straight green. Usually, not always. I'd have to see the photo. Sometimes when I've seen photos where there's green, like a green, I've seen one of a horse. There was a white horse standing in grass, and the reflection of the grass was so strong and oversaturated on the horse, it looked very, very weird. So I wouldn't have left that in, for example. But there may be times where having that green in works. Usually, I avoid green as being my like reflective color. I will pull the blues or purples or other things as that base instead. There are always exceptions, and I'd have to see the photo to know which way I'd go, but normally I try to avoid green in fur. Or if there is green, it's just a bit. It's kind of like yellow. I typically will avoid using yellow at all when it comes to fur. You might even be able to get away with brownish tones or tans, purples. Let's see. Whoops. Where are we? Hold on 1 second. I scrolled way too far. Oh my gosh, I'm way too far. Let me get caught up in some of these questions. Laura said, almost nothing done. Gardening done by elves. Ease up on yourself. Yeah, the gardening was the most physical work I have ever done because I had to rip out the grass first in those areas. Now, the grass it's mostly dormant and it was not rooted yet because it went into dormancy like right after it was planted. So most of it came out fairly easy, but I had to do that. I had to put down the edging. I had to digging the holes. So the Crepe Myrtles, there were 5 Crepe Myrtles that I planted, and they were in 5-gallon buckets or whatever. And the Texas dirt is not like what I was used to in California. Like in California, we would get bored and ask my mom, like, can I go dig a hole in the backyard? And she'd tell me where I could dig it. And we could like plant an elephant back there. Like you could dig so fast in that soil. Here, just that enough for that 5-gallon bucket Crepe Myrtle or size Crepe Myrtle. It took me 2 hours with a pickaxe on the first hole. Like just because it's that clay. It was wet clay, which I thought made it worse, but I later found out that is how you want it when you dig. I was lucky that it had rained recently, or had been pouring recently, I should say, for the last week. But it was really, really hard. I got better at it and it got a little bit easier as I did the other 4, but man, that was so much, full body workout, best workout I've ever had. But I also, it was Friday and Saturday night. My goal was to work during the day on Friday and Saturday, and then I had to paint Friday and Saturday night. I was so sore I couldn't even lift my arm. I'm like, I physically can't move. So I had to get my painting done Sunday and Monday, and I was behind on getting all of that ready. So everything was just trying to rush to get caught up to make up for all the time I spent in the garden or the yard gardening. That was definitely the most physical work. It was harder than moving, and moving was a challenge because we lived on the 3rd floor before. Let's see. Sergio said, speaking of the Derwent Lightfast 72, you will realize how many questions you have missed when you get to this one. What do you think about the color selection in the set? From what I can tell, it's beautiful. So I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, I haven't used them yet, so I've got to see them in person, but I'm definitely, definitely a fan so far. Moving this a little bit more. Okay. Gail said, got here a bit late. I'm curious, what's the round object? It's going to be the moon. It's the moon, and it has succulents growing around it. And there will be bees going into the moon because there's something wrong with my brain. Let's see. You've got Nick said, I've noticed some reactivation on areas that I have an overly heavy pigment rich application. Yeah, because it kind of builds up like chalky, like it doesn't soak into the paper as much. That makes sense. Clark Feiner said, can you use a brush and water and mix the pencil in a well like you were doing with the blocks? Yes, and that's what I did on the dolphin. If you watch my dolphin video, actually with that one, what I did was either scribble on the paper or scribble on sandpaper. That worked really well. And then reactivate it with water and then paint onto the surface. It made it go a lot faster than if I just sat there with a little pencil. The other thing would be that little grater thing that Derwent makes for the pencils. You can use it for the pencils or the blocks, but you grit it and then add water in the little well. So that should work too. Joseph said, I don't want to have to say this. It hasn't changed a lot yet. Oh, yeah, I know. I haven't gone very far, have I? Or unless you're talking about something else and I'm not caught up. Maya said, would you consider doing a paint along during the self-isolation period? Yes, actually, I really want to do that. I think I'm going to probably do it on Facebook. I want to try the Facebook Live and see how that goes, just because I've never tried it before. I really need MeWe to step up on their video stuff. But yeah, no, I really do want to start doing some live events for being that everyone's at home. It's like, this is a perfect time. We can all hang out and paint together. But yes, that is on the absolute, like, this has to happen plan of things coming up here. Renee said, what helps me cook at home is ordering food. Oh, Joseph said, I don't want to have to say this, it hasn't changed a lot yet. See, I don't know if it, I'm not sure what you're talking about there because I've jumped around to 800 conversation points or topics since that, whatever you wrote that. Renee said, what helps me cook at home is ordering food online from Grub Market, fruits and veggie box. You know, I'm tempted with something like that. I'm definitely considering, and I already had been before all of this, but that may be a good way to go. Because when I added up, like how much we spend eating out, now my husband will eat out at, during the week, which adds up for sure when he gets a lunch every day. And he does good, like he can get like low carb options with Chipotle and stuff. So he can eat healthy. It's just like the cost, the amount of money that we spend on that is just kind of insane. So I would really like to start like making lunches that he can take with him and, which can definitely be healthier options even than what he's getting now. But that's on my want list, I guess. It's just crazy to think of how much we would save if we weren't spending so much on eating out. I really hate cooking. I do not understand how anyone likes it at all. Matt cook more often than not. If someone's cooking, it's him. But I really despise cooking. I hate making a mess. I hate the dishes. I hate all the things involved with cooking. It's not ever been something I enjoyed. Like there's never been anything I made and thought, wow, this was fun to make. Like ever. Food is not important enough to me to bother with. Like eating, I'm like, I'd rather not eat than put the effort in. I'm so lazy. My sister likes to cook, which is weird. Actually, both my sisters like to cook, which I don't get. I definitely didn't get that gene. Nancy said, rig his desk as a standing desk. We can't. It's a marble or granite, quartz slab on granite, quartz. I don't know which. The man made one on count. Like it's attached to the cabinets. Like there's no way to rig that area. And I don't know where he would put a standing desk, unless he wanted to work in the garage. But no, I like that idea. It's just that where he's working, it's not even. It is not possible at all. Let's see. Karen said, do you have to put, oh, yes. If you are asking a question and I'm not seeing it, you have to have it highlight the @Lachri Fine Art. If it does not highlight in orange, I just don't see your question. If you can't get it to work, no judgment here. I can't get it to work either. Ask Nick or the moderators or somebody else will post the question for you if you ask someone for help. Callium said, is it okay to tint the varnish of an acrylic or oil painting with the acrylic paint respectively? Does it make the painting less archival? I don't know, but I don't know why you would do that either. Like that makes zero sense to me. If you want to glaze or tint the color, do that with a mixing medium and then varnish it after. Like no, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not intended for that. That's what your mixing mediums are for. Let's see. Whoops, scroll too far. Again. Clark Fine Art said, oh, yep, back with the at Lachri Fine Art. Jenny, oh, yep, more people answering that one. Diane said, hello, Lisa, I am joining in a while working on my current drawing. Are you also in lockdown? Yes, we are definitely, we have stay at home, don't go out orders. We can still go out, like tomorrow I have to go get water for the fish tank to make sure my fish stay alive. We can go for stuff like that, like pet stuff is considered essential, and groceries and medical stuff like that we can go out for, but just random outings, like we had a bunch of idiots that thought or were treating this whole thing like it was just spring break, and like the beaches were more full than ever. You're just going, I don't understand. But anyway, apparently they didn't understand. But one of the things that's really frustrating is how many people do not understand what a gestation period is or how that works. I saw a girl in my neighborhood posted she still wanted to do haircuts for people. She's a cosmetologist in training, and her post was weird anyway, but she announced, and I can promise, or I guarantee I'm virus free. No, you can't. You absolutely cannot guarantee that. Like, you can't know that. There's no way you can know that. It's just so frustrating how people don't understand. You spread a lot of these illnesses before you show symptoms. So people they don't get that. They don't know that because apparently our school systems are failing all around that we didn't teach people how that works. And they think they can freely go do whatever they want and it's no big deal. And I'm like, you're cutting men's hair. Like you're pretty hands-on there and you cannot claim to be virus free. That one really annoyed me because she clearly didn't understand how it worked and was putting herself and others, let's not do that right now. Let's see. Diane said, have you ever tried painting a portrait of a face in neon colors? How does that work? I don't do neon colors because they're not light fast. So no, that isn't like what I'm going to do, but just bright colors in general, you absolutely can do. And it's not like where it just doesn't interest me that much. So I've not done it, but you're focusing on values. You're not focusing on color then. You're focusing on getting your values. Dark's dark enough, light's light enough, and then you can paint it whatever color you want. It's still gonna have that three-dimensional look, but that's really comes down to being about your values, not the colors, which is true anyway. Sergio said, any chance for a chicken cameo anytime soon? I need to do that. Maybe just set his cage up in here. It's hard because Gibson is in here when I do the live stream, and chicken can't be out of the room when Gibson's in here. Gibson has way too strong of a prey drive, and I want to make sure chicken stays safe. So I would either have to put Gibson in his crate, but he likes to lay in here when I live stream. But I could put chicken, set up something. I need to get him a better, like a more sturdy cage. I have a lightweight one that might be okay. I got zip ties for it, but I want to get him a little bit more of a heavy duty, like carrier type one where there's no chance of Gibson being able to knock it over. I have to adjust my setup. As it is right now, I hang out with chicken in his room, like in the chicken room, not in the rest of the house, which was pretty typical before anyway, for the most part. Let's see. Where were we? Jennifer said, my husband loves to cook and he's great at it, but I hate it. I love baking though, probably because I have a huge sweet tooth. Yeah, I used to do it when I used to eat a lot of sugar and all the carbs and stuff. I used to bake, peach cobbler was like my favorite thing in the world. I would make that, like a big pan of that. I would have it gone in a day. Like it was just, oh my gosh, I used to love that. That sounds so good. I miss those days. But anyway, I would make it, but I still didn't enjoy the process. I enjoyed eating that. Yeah, the sweets would inspire me to cook even if I hated cooking. But now I don't really eat those, so I'm back to hating cooking. Maya said, yay, paint along. May we have chicken as a model, pretty please? Possibly. I'll have to see what photos I've got of him. Or Nugget. I haven't painted Nugget yet. That needs to happen soon. Okay. Elsewhere said, what are you making? Red panda. I guess it doesn't look like that at all on your end. It's a red panda, moon, succulents, grass, and it'll be blurry clouds in the background eventually. Jack said, do you have a favorite piece of art you've made? Yes. I think my favorite is the lion with the coral around his mane, or like his mane is the coral and then the fish. That one is, I don't see myself ever letting that one go, or no time soon anyway. That one, and then the flamingo, there's an acrylic painting of a flamingo with bees. I've got that hanging. I just love that one because I took the reference photo of the flamingo myself. Like everything about that was my work from start to finish, so I'm extra proud of it. And the lighting was beautiful on the reference photo. I got really lucky the day I was taking those photos. So that's my other favorite. Sorry, itchy eye. Oh. Okay. Miriam said, hi, I'm sure you're glad that you're in your new home this quarantine. Oh my gosh. You have no idea. Being in that apartment because of all my neighbors being home and the paper thin walls, I would have lost my mind. Absolutely freaking lost my mind with trying to work with that. And then just being small anyway, because it's an apartment. You have no storage, so I wouldn't have been able to stock up on like dog food. I would have nowhere to store the extra dog food. I would have like, trying to think, there was something else that I got extra of that I'm like, where would I have put this? And our fridge was so teeny tiny, I couldn't put frozen food or anything because they said to try to have like 2 weeks worth of food just in case if you get sick and you can't leave, you know you're set. You don't have to leave. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I have nowhere to store anything like that in that apartment. So no, I feel so absolutely lucky timing that we got in this house before this the pandemic hit. Because I don't feel trapped here. It's huge. You know, it's a house versus an apartment. So yeah, I can't even express how very great, like daily, multiple times a day, I just keep thinking and I love my apartment, but it's like, I am so glad because trying to work from home when everyone else is staying home, oh, I would have lost my mind. And I don't mean everyone else as in my husband. I mean everyone else as in my neighbors. They had a tendency, if they were home, and it's not like anyone, well, I did have some bad neighbors. I actually did have a few that were serious issues. But for the most part, most of the people I lived with while I lived there, or lived around, were, good people, very respectful of everybody else's, noise-wise and stuff. We had a few that were issues, but yeah, not if they were home all day. I don't think that would have been the case. Let's see. Melinda said, I like to use the white mixed with other colors. Yeah, you can get some really nice pastel colors that way. Whoops, and that just jumped. Hold on 1 second. Let me scroll up. Ryan said, another question. I've been drawing faces a lot recently in quarantine. How do you work with charcoal and graphite in facial portraits? I mean, it's the same as any other medium. And when working in the portraits, you're paying attention to your lights and your darks, and of course the proportions and all of that. But I don't know, I'm not sure what tips you're looking for exactly, but as always, with any subject, with any medium, you're going to pay attention to my brain just shut down while I was fixing that. You're going to pay attention to your values. Are your darks dark? And if your light's light enough, this is how you develop that three-dimensional look. So that really, I give you the same advice no matter what medium in that case, or whether it be a portrait or anything else. Let's see. Jason said, I've been self-isolating for years, so not much change here. I think us artists who work from home, we really aren't as impacted as... And like I said, because I'm so used to eating weird, like I will have almonds for dinner. That is totally fine for me. So nothing feels weird to me. And I grew up, I was talking to my mom about that. We were kind of laughing because people are so worried about not getting the things they're used to. And I'm like, I grew up with we did not have money. And if it was not both on sale and my mom had a coupon for it, we didn't get it. Like it had to fit both criteria for my mom to buy something. So you just kind of ate whatever was there. I mean, we had food. I can't make it sound like we ever went hungry, but it wasn't like my friends would say, oh, I want this for dinner. Oh no, you did not do that in my house. You had what my mom had available that day. Like that is how that went. You did not get any say in what you wanted. So we were kind of laughing. I'm like, wow, we were, how we grew up was very helpful in not making this seem super odd to us. Let's see. Kayla said, how do you come up with your surreal painting ideas? I usually work in the same style, but sometimes I have a hard time coming up with ideas or finding inspiration. For me, I find photos that I like. So I went looking for, I knew I wanted an animal. I wasn't sure if I wanted it to be, actually I thought I wanted it to be a fox, and I got some amazing fox reference photos from wildlife reference photos that I cannot wait to paint. But I knew I wanted there to be a moon. It really started with one element. It was the moon with bees going into it and the succulents. Like this section, what was what was in my head first. Then it was, what main animal subject can I fit in with it? And so I looked through photos until I found one that I'm like, oh, this fits perfect. The way he's looking, the way, like, this will be perfect. That's how I came up with this. And then I played around with some different background ideas, and I designed them in Photoshop to come up with ideas. So I'm basically taking different elements. Like, I want the moon, I want succulents, I want bees, I want a red paint. Well, I ended up going with the red panda. I wanted a fox. How can I fit those together? And you can do this in a loose sketchbook, come up with some ideas. And I did that first. I did actually loosely sketch those out in a sketchbook before I started Photoshopping them together, just to get kind of a general idea on the layout. And that's how I come up with those. It's like, I look at it as a collage. It's not, I feel like I see stuff other people do, and I'm like, that is so creative. When I look at what I'm doing, I just feel like I made a collage of random crap. Like, it doesn't seem that creative to me. It's just like, oh, these will work together. That'll be cute. And that's how I come up with those. It's a collage. Let's see. My husband's getting loud with whoever he's talking to out there. Let's see. Elaine said, when you say you don't use yellows, does gold count? I'm trying to find colors for my Jaguar picture. I mean, when you say gold, are you using like gold, like it's a metallic? Then I might, just because it would look cool. But no, even if I'm doing that, I'm going to go with tans, with oranges, with magentas. I don't use yellow at all. If I were doing a Jaguar, the yellow is not even anywhere in my color palette. Nowhere. No tone of yellow. Orange, oranges, tans, grays, purple, magenta, orange, those, yes. Yellow, abso-freaking-lutely not. I do not go near yellow when it comes to fur. Same thing with blonde hair. A lot of people think blonde hair, oh, yellow. No, it's usually actually like various shades of gray with a bit of purple in it. Well, depending on the tone of that. But unless someone really screwed up their hair dye job, there should be no yellow in their hair. Karen said, I work at Michael's in Illinois and we are considered essential here, so we're still open, reduced hours. P.S. You're awesome. So is inspirational, funny, and real. Thank you. Michael's is considered essential? I mean, part of me is glad it's open, but part of me is like, I would rather you guys stay safe and go home. Like, that seems, we can order art supplies from Michael's online. I don't know that, I don't like the idea of a lot of these, and I guess one of the things that's kind of cracking me up, but also like facepalm, one of the things that are essential are liquor stores. And they tried, I guess, was it Colorado? Where was it? I forget where. They tried to close those down, or, like, okay, those are non-essential. And there were like, people were ready to riot. And so they're like, okay, liquor stores can be essential. But it's kind of silly because you can just get that at the grocery store. You have to go to the grocery store anyway. Let's just combine that. I don't know. I don't know what all the answers are, obviously. I just, you go through I want everyone to be safe, but yeah. Michael's, I did not know Michael's was going to be considered. Like, I get pet stores, I get grocery stores. That's about it. That's all I understand. We had, and it was funny because that night they were closing stuff down in my neighborhood. The guy who drives around every Monday for the HOA and writing people tickets was still out, like, the day that things were getting closed down. It was funny because people were like, really, right now? But part of me was like, well, if you guys would freaking pick your weeds, he wouldn't need to be out there. I mean, he's in his car by himself, so he's not coming in contact with people. But I thought it was kind of funny that whole thing. Let's see. Cavian said, I tinted the varnish to achieve a glow, almost like a filter on the painting without having to go back over the whole thing. But yeah, I forgot glazing medium exists. Yeah, do glazing medium next time. That way, because I don't know if it's going to affect the varnish. So if you do glazing medium, I know for certain that's safe. That's funny. Miriam said, yes, that's what I was thinking about the apartment versus your new house. Your painting of the lion with the coral, absolutely my favorite. Yeah, I need to start the one like that with Gibson, with the coral going up his feet. I need to go get photos of him for that, because I need him in like the right pose. Good luck on that one. Okay, it is 9:03. My husband should not be working right now. Oh, hold on. I have a warning from, did I go? 1 second. This is not sanitary, by the way. I'm just checking because I got a notification from my bank. I need to make sure one account. Okay, no, there's $20 in it. It's fine. I just want to make sure it wasn't overdrawn. I can move money from my art account into that one. When I see that Chase notification on the phone, it's like, oh crap, what happened? Let's see. Sergio said, I hear Karen Dosh are prepping new colors for the Luminance series, ready to break the bank. Ooh. Yeah, I need to get Karen Dosh to work with me and supply me with their pencils, but oh my gosh. Yes, that makes me happy because I do really like the Karen Dosh colored pencils. Oops, that should not be there. Let's see. Carla said, did you have trouble changing mediums when you first started experimenting? I love pencils and colored pencils, but the paintbrush is kind of foreign. I assume you get used to it. Yeah, the more you paint, that is very, very normal. I started more with painting, so for me, I mean, I had more experience there. But you will get to where that paintbrush will feel just like an extension of your hand. Like it is no big deal for you to get it to do what you want it to. It just takes practice and it is going to be awkward at first. But the good thing is when you change from one medium to another, one of the big things to keep in mind there is as long as you follow your same rules that you already know from your pencil. So you've got an accurate line drawing, you're paying attention to your contrast, your values, the design, your overall design. Even if you're using terrible brush strokes, like I say terrible, but like they're not looking how you want them to, we'll word it that way. Because you already understand lighting, composition, values, getting that accurate line drawing, because you understand those things already, that's going to translate into your painting and it's going to be that much easier for you to transition. When I start, it's funny because I always laugh when people are like, well, you can switch, because you can have me a new medium and I will do nearly as well with that as anything else. My brush strokes aren't that good. I'm not great at blending yet. That's going to take some getting used to with a new medium, but I have an understanding from my other mediums of those things I talked about: composition, values, contrast, accurate drawing. I understand those things, and those things hold more weight in somebody liking how your artwork, the artwork coming out good, than the actual brush techniques as far as how most buyers view it. So you don't be afraid of that. That's going to get easier. It will always start out awkward. That's completely normal. A lot of people, when they've started with pencils, they'll try painting and like, meh, I'm bad at this. I have to stick with pencils. That's all I can do. Well, yeah, today, keep painting. You'll get there. There was a weird, thought something vibrated in this room. My phone's on silent. But that is going to come with time. Don't let it discourage you. Everyone feels awkward at first when they first start with a paintbrush if they've been used to pencils. Totally, totally normal. I can't tell you how long it'll take. It's just the more you paint and draw, the faster you'll move through that awkward stage. But like I said, if you incorporate, even with let's say bad brush strokes, and I'm making air quotes because it's not, I don't even want to say bad, because what you might consider bad, somebody else might love that technique of. So we'll just go with brush strokes you don't personally like, or it's not your goal. You will get there, but you have to paint more in order to get there. It doesn't matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter how many videos you watch. The videos, I think, do help when you see how someone's moving a brush, but you've got to experiment with it. So don't spend too much time studying the concept of using brushes. Yes, watch videos. They're going to help you. But then jump in right away on using them, and you'll get there. Let's see. Whoa, that scrolled too fast. We just jumped. Shannon said, yep, those of us who are naturally antisocial are having no issues with this. Now I have an excuse to be this way. And it's funny watching how many people are going crazy. Like they're so bored. They're used to being out of the house for work. They're using my husband. Yesterday, he's like, I have to go to the grocery store. What do you want? anything you can find, but we don't need any. He was like, I have to get out. I have to go somewhere I'm allowed to go. I'm like, okay. He came back with frozen chicken, so that worked. But I'd rather him stay here, but okay. But I see where so many people they're just not used to staying home. For me, I'm like, I don't feel like anything changed. It feels so normal to me. But I see all over Facebook people going on and on about how crazy bored they are. I can't relate. But then again, I work from home, so I have a ton of work to do. Like that, I still have to do just as much work as before. So no change there. And then I added landscaping on top of it. Let's see. Said Hannah, I hope I said that right, said, hi, I'm not able to finish any of my works. I always get stuck. Any suggestions on what I can do? Yes, don't start anything new until you finish the last thing. If you have a tendency to just keep starting new things, you have to just stop that. Nothing new until you finish the old thing. And give yourself a time limit too, because I think that you can also get to a point where you're just like, oh, I can't finish this, but I can't start something new, so I'll never paint again. Don't do that. Be like, okay, I'm finishing this week. I have till Friday to get this done. Comes out like crap, it comes out like crap. You're still learning from something coming out like crap. You learn nothing from something sitting in the closet. Nothing. So make sure other than maybe how to organize all the unfinished pieces in your closet. So I guess there's something you could learn. But make yourself finish everything before you move on to the next thing. Don't get in the habit of, I'm bored with this, I'm going to start something new. You've just got to stop doing that. You have to finish everything. That's how you're going to learn. A good question. And also, a lot of people are in the same boat as you, so don't feel like you're alone in feeling that way. That's very normal, but you have to teach yourself, like, have the self-discipline to finish everything, even if it comes out bad. Where did we go? Jinxie says, alcoholics can die if they don't have alcohol. That is true. But you can get it at the grocery store still, so that's why I'm like, I don't really understand the liquor store part. Let's see. Dan says, here I thought blonde hair would include mostly browns, like umbers with some grays for the highlights. Yes, absolutely. And some purples and magentas too, usually. But it depends on how pale it is. Like platinum, blonde hair, you'll get more of the purples and magentas. Even some blues, depending on what it's reflecting. But yeah. Monica said, I'm going to paint my cats. One of them is black and relatively stubborn. Getting a good reference photo is tricky. Get him in the sunlight. Like, get him if he's in a windowsill where you got light coming in. That's how you want to get those reference photos. That's what I do for any animal. Well, I do it for all animals, but especially black fur. I want sun coming in from one of the windows, not outside. I don't typically like the photos I get outside. I like indoor. So he's kind of in the dark, or I'm talking about Gibson specifically recently. And, but I've done the same with Echo when I photographed her for art, and the sun is coming in through one of the windows. You get that really nice, strong contrast. And I don't mean like midday sun. I ideally want like earlier morning, later afternoon, so the sun is a little bit lower. It tends to come out more dramatic. Kathy said, hardware stores are open at least until pipes fix themselves. Yes, that makes sense to me. Karen said, yeah, it's weird. I guess people need stuff to do. And we also are a UPS hub. Oh, wow. UPS makes sense to me on staying open. I understand the shipping because that keeps a lot of people home if they can order stuff online. I'd probably be panicking thinking, I don't have enough of certain colors of acrylic paint if it weren't for the fact that I know I can just order it online. Well, as long as that continues going well. Down on the farm, Studio said, isn't the correct pose for Gibson upside down in the weird position? Yes, it is. Do you want something more fantastic like a posed portrait or realistic? I like posed not looking at the camera. Like, so it kind of has a natural feeling, like the dog's not, sitting there looking at the camera waiting for his treat. I don't like that look usually. Although, like I just did the one on the Lab Poodle mix, the white dog, and I love that portrait, and he was looking at the camera posing. So, there's exceptions to that. But I also, like, if I'm going to do a portrait, I'm not going to draw him laying on his back when he's doing his goofy pose. I want to capture the elegance. I guess because I don't see the elegance as often, I usually see the goofy side. I don't know. That's just what I like as an artist. It's personal preference. I've seen people that like to do the funny, goofy stuff for their portraits that they feel captures the pet's personality a bit more. So I understand both. Busy Beaver Remodeling said, what other medias can you use over the top of Inktense? You can use colored pencil. You can use like marker ink type stuff. You can use pretty much anything could technically go over the top of it. I can't think of it. I mean, it's a water-based product, so you can put water or oil-based on top of it and be safe. Now, you wouldn't want to use an oil-based product and then put this on top. Then it's not archival. But you can put water-based, oil-based on top of this, and you would be fine. It would still be archival. Well, I say archival, but we don't know as far as light fast. There are questions about light fast issues anyway when it comes to Inktense once water is added. We have the light fast rating on the dry medium. They're not terrible. They're not amazing. It depends on the pencil color, but we don't know what that is. And I've been saying for years, I'm going to do a window test to see if putting it behind the UV glass, how much of a difference that makes, or the UV sprays. But I do know the last red Panda I did that maybe 5 years ago, and he didn't fade at all, and he was in a very bright room. He was behind UV glass. Now, 5 years is not like the standard of being able to tell if something's going to fade. That's actually not very much time at all. The standard would be more like 50 years. But I was glad to see that it didn't start that soon, because some of the reports people had were saying that it faded like within a month, it was fading. And I haven't experienced that at all. So I have to question, was it the water they're using? Are they using tap water? Who knows what's in the tap water? If you're using tap water, anything could go wrong. It could fade tomorrow. Is it the quality of paper they're using? You know, there's so many factors that I just don't know why theirs faded that quickly. It's not been my experience. I actually do use tap water. Distilled would be ideal because your tap water does have a lot of crap in it that might affect and make things fade. And I would recommend that no matter what medium you're using with, like especially watercolor too, any of your water pencil type things, I would definitely recommend distilled water. Sergio said, if you get those fancy pants, guys, from Karen Dash to provide you with said pencils, I will personally carry them to your doorstep. Certainly not running away with them for myself. Note to self, don't tell Sergio when new pencils are coming. Aowen said, I am working on a watercolor where, I'm sorry, the writing on my computer is so little, my eyes are bad, so that's why I'm like squinting at this. I'm doing the whole, 102-year-old lady squint. So I am working on a watercolor where there is a crescent mood, succulents, and crystals. Any advice for if I should add ink line art before or after the watercolor paint is added? It depends on the look you're going for. Like I saw someone in my aquarium group recently, they did a clownfish, they used Inktense, it was a clownfish in an anemone, and they did these heavy, bold black lines. It looked like almost like a comic book. It was stunning. Like it was beautiful. But you have to want those black lines. They're not going for photorealism at that point. They're going for a very stylized feeling, and it was stunning. I don't think it would have looked nearly as good without the heavy black lines they did everywhere. It looked so neat. So I can't say that you should or shouldn't. It depends on what look you're going for. Here, I'm not even going with a heavy black. I'm just using a light purple first, and this will show through everything I paint on top of it. So, which is good. That I want that. But I would play around with two ways. Like get a scratch book, try one way with those lines, try one way without, and see which look you like better. Now, the thing is with watercolor, if you're doing, my neighbor's dogs are out. If you are doing line art, you wouldn't want to do the line art first with watercolor, because once you blend another color on top of it, especially if you're using black lines, that is just going to blend right into the other colors. So you would want to do something like Inktense instead, or some sort of waterproof ink. Would be the choice in that case if you're putting the lines first. You would not just jump in. I wouldn't put watercolor as the lines just because it smudges and lifts. Elaine said, thank you. Those color suggestions help. I've been working in graphite and have no idea what to blend. I'm glad that'll help. Crystal said, hi, thanks for looking at the lion painting last week. I varnished it so I cannot work on the main like you suggested. I am working on an orange tiger painting using art graph tiles. Nice. Yeah, you don't necessarily always want to go back. Like some of my old stuff I'll look at and I'm like, I would do that differently. Thank God it's varnished so I can't fuss around with it. I would rather just start something new anyway. So that's great. You just want to take, that advice and apply it to future stuff. So that's perfect. The Down on the Farm Studio said, I learned a long time ago as a kid on the farm, never be bored or someone will find work for you to do. Haven't been bored since. Yes, that is so true. That was my thing growing up as a kid too. When you walk around with my mom did not tolerate you walking around saying I'm bored. Yeah, good point. We didn't live on a farm, but yeah. Crystal said, you will like the art graph tiles. They come in sets of individual. You need to replace them when you run out. You can use them with Derwent XL blocks and Graphite too. I need to look into those. You've talked about those before. Sedhana said, thank you. I will try that suggestion. Yay. Mac, oh, I thought I was caught up. I was all excited for a second and I'm not at all. Okay, scrolling back up. Here we go. Sergio said, I have the system working on a big piece, at least a 9x12 in colored pencil, graphite, and throwing in small project between, done on the opposite medium and on different paper. I have this system. Oh, I see what you mean. Cool. Jennifer said, I usually have 4 projects going on at once. I get frustrated and if I stay and do one thing for a bit. And see, some people can do that. Some people can jump and do multiple projects. And like with oil painting, I used to do that. I would have like 3 oil paintings going at the same time. Depending on the size, I may have more than that. So I'd get kind of an assembly line going because you have to stop and let it dry. And it's like, but I still want to paint today. Next. And I'd start the next one over. So they'd all get finished about the same time. You know, over a week, I might finish 4 or 5 paintings. So that worked out really well for me, but not everyone has the self-discipline to finish things. They'll start something, get bored, start something else, get bored, start something else, and they have a pile of never finished things. So you really have to figure out what like group you fall into, which way is going to work best for you. If you're not finishing something, you know you're in the group that needs to finish before you start another project. Shannon said, I would guess leaving liquor stores open is more a case of keeping public morale than anything else, possibly. Many people aren't happy about all of this. They take their booze away and they revolt. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what happened. I don't think anyone's happy about this. I mean, we make jokes that being an artist, like, yeah, I get to stay home, but I already stayed home. It doesn't, you know, I joke, but I don't think anyone's happy about worrying about someone getting ill, or especially family members. But yeah, I think you're right about the alcohol. I think that's probably what a lot of people are doing to not lose their minds. Gail said, not much has changed for me either. I love being home and seldom go anywhere. I live in the country in hollering distance from our neighbors. Yeah, I see my neighbors over my fence. It works. Actually, I've met just walking like to the mailbox, like more of my neighbors home and said hi. Everyone seems really cool in my area. So that's been kind of nice because usually I've not seen a few of, like I saw 2 people I've never met before, which is kind of cool. I mean, we didn't go hang out or anything, but it's like walking by and saying hi and stuff, so it's pretty cool. Let's see. Down at the Farm Studio, did Derwent film you yet, or did they postpone? They had to postpone, like 2 days before they were supposed to be here. I part of me was like, that really sucks, and part of me was like, I'm kind of relieved because I feel like I wasn't ready for that anyway. So as long as they do, and they contacted the first guy. So here, let me get a drink. The main guy that was coming out, he said that it was put on hold, but they didn't have scheduled or plans to reschedule or something like that, which made it sound like, oh, that's kind of ominous. Like we're just trashing that whole project is what it sounded like. But then I got a contact from the main lady that is kind of in charge of the whole thing. And she said, no, we're absolutely doing it. We're just postponing. Go ahead. And because I had to fill out all the paperwork and stuff, they're actually, weirdly enough, they're paying me to do it. Like, I feel like I should be paying you guys for this. But anyway, had me fill out all my paperwork. She was like, we're absolutely still going to be doing that. And so that was very cool and kind of a relief because I was like, oh, I was super disappointed. That sounded like a lot of fun to do. But the other thing that's kind of nice too is I've got the landscaping done in the yard, my backyard. But when they came, the view out my studio window was not pretty at all. Like it was just grass wall, brown grass and wall because everything's dormant. So by the time this all comes up again, hopefully between all of the landscaping that I did and then the grass coming back awake, it'll be much prettier. A much prettier view if they get shots out of the studio. So I think it'll come out better with having waited. Ellie said, I did an indigo underpainting in Inktense and glazed Daniel Smith watercolor on top. It came out really well. Ooh, I bet that would. That would be a good mixed media. Miriam said, I saw a post on IG, introverts are now the cool kids, plus those who grew up before you've got mail, ate what your mom cooked. Exactly, that was me. And it must be a good sell price, not really bothered. Yeah, I think it's easier for us than like a younger younger generation. It's funny how some of the stuff as kids, you're like, oh, this sucks. But it's like, wow, this really prepared me for life a little bit better. I am not complaining now. This all seems kind of normal. So see how I just keep readjusting this for now. The other thing, see how I made a bunch of brush strokes where it was just like lines? Don't just leave it that way. Come back through and create some clusters and clumps. We don't just want a bunch of lines. Even in here, I'll come back through and overlap another direction. Let's see. Oh, it just jumped again. Dang it. I think I was pretty close though. Aowen said, thank you for your answer. That helps a lot. I think I'll do the test and see what looks best. Yeah, and the nice thing is, like with Inktense and watercolor, they're fairly fast mediums, so you can do quick little samples and see what will look nice. Let's see. Busy Beaver Remodeling said, how would you do this painting with Inktense pencils? I wouldn't line it. Now, I don't personally like just using blocks or just using pencils. I love how they work together. So for me, typically, except for doing the tin art, because that needed to be just that medium that was in the tin. I love that actually Derwent was being super picky about it being that way, but I don't like working that way. I like them both, but if I had to, I would be taking the pencil and scribbling on another piece of paper, then taking my brush, re-wetting it, and still applying the same way. I think I would do about the same as what I'm doing for my base layer. Scribbling on sanded paper, or sandpaper, not sanded paper. I don't recommend sanded paper, too expensive. Sandpaper, cheap, you got it from the hardware store, sandpaper. I would scribble on that so it gets a lot of that pigment on the paper and then lift it with water. That was one way that's what I did on the dolphin. You can see, if you watch the dolphin painting, how I did that. Trying to think what else. And then that grate, like you can grate that, and Derwent sells it on the grate. You just rub your pencil on it and mix water in it. You paint just like what I'm doing here. The cool thing too, these, you can buy the blocks individually. So if you go to like Dick Blick or Jerry's, if you buy just a couple of individual colors to get your line work done, like the purple color, it does it say the number, it's worn off. Yeah, it's like a deep violet type color, but it's like I can't see the thing on it anymore. You can just get a couple of them and use that for your line work and then put your pencil stuff over it too. Sergio said, all right, thanks for my portrait critique. It's always fun to show some art. Not only some comments. I hope you didn't mind. I was inspired by your barn owl, which I did in Graphite. I saw that. It looks so good. No, that is awesome. And that was a good example of being inspired by somebody's art without copying their painting. Like that was exactly I love seeing that where you can tell somebody was inspired, but they also made it their own, which is what you did. So that was pretty cool. Sarah Makes Art said, to the people saying I'm bored, whatever has been canceled, I can't eat out, I say deal with it. Yeah, I think people just got so used to, one way of life, any adjustments a bit of a challenge for some. Monica said, our grass was brown when we got this house, and it really hasn't been green except in small patches. Now, we moved in November, about mid-November, and we had some massive, like the week we moved, massive cold fronts came in really, really, it was November 11th, November 12th, right around there. We had some major cold fronts come in and everything just froze and the grass had just been put in. So I've never seen green grass at this house at all. I'm really looking forward to all of that coming back out. But it's mostly, my backyard looks better. Well, I shouldn't say that. My front yard is okay. It just isn't as green. It doesn't get as warm and the sun isn't there. It doesn't hit it as much. My backyard gets a lot more sun, but it's really patchy. Like areas where when it rains, the sod was just like floating away. Like it wasn't sealed down, or not, I say sealed down, it hadn't taken root yet in some of those. So I need to contact the builder and see if they will do anything about that. I mean, eventually it's Bermuda. Bermuda's going to take over anyway. It just fans and spreads out. But I've got a lot of dead areas that I don't know if there's even roots that are alive in. So I don't know how long it'll take for that to all turn green. It's mostly though, I would say the majority of it is green. I've just got some like holes, spots where it just didn't take. Down on the Farm Studio said, that's cool. You get more time to prepare for whatever it is. The coolest book I'm working on as a collab. They got delayed. So talking about Derwent. So maybe I can get it done in time. Oh, that's actually can work out to your benefit. Oh, and we're scrolled too far. Here we go. Naomi said, you need to put, oh yeah, if anyone, if you're trying to ask a question, you have to do the @Lachri Fine Art. If it does not highlight in orange, it didn't work, and I don't see it. I'm not trying to ignore you or be a jerk. That's just the inevitable outcome when I can't see it. So if you can't get that to work, no judgment. I can't get it to work either. If you can't, ask somebody else and they can post the question for you. Miriam said, it looks like you're making a quick, short, tiny strokes with your brush. Is that correct? Yes. And the other thing that you can't really tell, I'm starting the brush stroke, not pushing very hard. In the middle of the stroke, I'm pushing a little harder. Towards the end, I pull back up. And that's where I get this dagger stroke at the beginning and the end. See how it's like thin, well, wrong side, but thin, gets a little thicker, gets a little bit thinner at the end. And that's just because the way that I'm barely touching the brush, pushing harder in the middle, pulling back towards the end of the brush. That's how I get like the pointy start and stop brush strokes. And not that one. That one's the reverse. Let's see. Mara said, we're supposed to be getting another week of snow. I'm a little tired of snow scenes. Oh, I feel bad for you guys who live up in the North Pole. I know Nick does too. Speaking of, if you've not already, make sure to thank our moderators, follow them. Their links are in the video description. We have Nick and Joseph. Look, I didn't call you Nick and Edgar this time. We have Nick and Joseph, both have awesome channels here. Definitely check them out, subscribe, and tell them thank you. They help me so much. Let's see. Horsewoman said, just got our text in Colorado. No leaving unless necessary. Bummer, but I've been staying home. Yeah, it's safer, that's for sure. Nick said, Doris asks, you use colored pencil over Inktense. Can you spray with fixative like you use? I would spray, if I was going to spray with a fixative, I would spray with a fixative that was intended for colored pencil. Always, whenever you're going to spray with a fixative, I do recommend do a sample. So I would do a sample of a little bit of Inktense, a little bit of colored pencil, whatever brand you used, on the type of paper you use. Go ahead and spray whatever fixative, ideally something for colored pencil, because colored pencil is going to be wax and oil based, whereas the Inktense is water based. So Inktense you can spray, either should work fine for it. But do a test first before you do your artwork, because I have seen where people use certain sprays and it did not play nice with their colored pencils and ruined their artwork. So always test that on another piece of paper. Again, ideally the same type of paper that you did your artwork on. Everything should be the same, and make sure that that works. But you're probably going to want to use something to seal it with that is intended for colored pencil. Make sure the label on the can says that, assuming you're going to use like a UV protecting spray. Well, and then we jumped. Where were we? Oh, we are caught up. Wait, no. Yep. Oh, here we go. Clark Fine Art said, have you used watercolor pad from Stonehenge? I don't think I have. Just got one wondering how it is to work on. I don't think I've used that one. Maybe you should do the review and tell me how you like it. Okay, so we'll come out here and start adding some hint of where the grass is going to be. See, I'm pushing a little bit harder, and I definitely want my lines to be a bit thicker as I move my way forward. I can actually switch to a larger brush for this. This one I think is a number 2 or a 3. I think it's a 2. Yeah, that one's a 2. Let's switch to a 4. Let's see. Oh, I've still got to do his tail. Now I'll go through and do shading with the same color too later on. Right now I'm just focusing on my line work. There we go. Okay, this is weird. I'm caught up. Am I really caught up on all the questions? It's so quiet now. So now we're back into the grass, and I want to make sure that these overlap. When you're painting grass or fur, you're going to have a lot of overlap. Don't just make a bunch of straight lines or it just looks like confetti. Oh, it is windy out there. I can hear the wind chimes going crazy. I'm really excited. There's a, I like to feed wild birds, or sky chickens as I call them. And the place that I go to, I didn't want to go, like, that seemed very unnecessary. They were open. It was last week. They were open, but I'm like, what if I'm sick and don't know it yet? And I don't want to get the ladies who work there sick. So I'm like, I'll look at the website. And they had, it's a chain, but they're franchised. So I was able to go to their website and order online. They had that delivered within 2 hours. I don't know what app they used or what company, but that was delivered like 2 hours. I got some, I had already ordered the hummingbird feeder food. And then I got a new pole to go out by the Crepe Myrtles that's high enough Gibson can't catch the chickens, hopefully, from there. And what else did I get? Oh, a bird bath that hangs from it too. So I'm super excited about that. And it was really cool. I had no idea you could even order from them online. They're not super close to where I live now. So ordering would be just easier in general. But I thought that was pretty cool to be able to still support like a local business without having to go risk making anyone sick. Not that I think I'm sick, but like I said, with what I was talking about earlier with the gestation period, you just don't know. So this green will go on top of it. Well, it's kind of a yellowish green, but I still have these nice little, lines in there building up that grass. Mish said, a little late to the party. Didn't hear what kind of paper you use. This is Arch's hot press watercolor paper. Elaine said, what color would you add to black so it wasn't flat? I'm doing pastels. It depends on what I'm doing and what tint I want, but usually purples, reds, or blues are the color choices. Normally, all of them. Like if I'm working in colored pencil, I'll usually layer all of it with it. See, these look absolutely terrible. They just look like random lines. I need to get these overlapping. Clumps and clusters, whether it be fur, grass, whatever. We don't just want random lines. Now, one of the things I did not mention, the pencil that I used to draw everything out on this, it is a water-soluble pencil. I don't know where it went, but I used a water-soluble graphite pencil. That way, when I start blending the colors, you're not going to see any of my pencil lines. They will be completely gone. So Derwent, with the pencils, they come with they call it, I think, an outliner. That one's not going to lift. It's not going to blend in when you add water. I want mine to lift. I want mine to blend in. I don't want you to see my pencil lines. So I use a water-soluble graphite pencil instead for my line work. Down in the frame studio said, how many flamingos are around your yard? I think just 2. I've got a glass one that like lights up, and then I've got like a little metal one. I think it's just the 2 right now. That's gonna have to change. Every time I go and see those tacky plastic ones, I get all excited and I'm like, oh, I wonder if my neighbors would kill me if I put these up. Maybe I should get zombie ones. Let's see. Carlos says, I'm dying waiting for you to finish the final picture. This one won't be finished tonight. This one's going to be, it should be next week. By next week, it'll be done. Like I'll probably have it done Sunday night. But like this, what I'm doing right now, this is one of the more time-consuming things. Everything else is so much easier once all of this is blocked in. Yeah, this would be, I wouldn't be finished with this till like 7 in the morning if I wanted to finish this all in one night. And my back cannot take that. Actually, I'm going to switch back to my thinner liner brush and we can start lining succulents. Susan said, Uber seed as opposed to Uber speed. Totally different scenario. don't go, what? Uber seed as opposed to Uber. I do not even, see, I say things and then there's always a delay on the video, and by the time someone comments, half the time my brain shut down completely. I have no idea what that's in reference to anymore. I'm sorry. Clark Finer said, glad you mentioned water-soluble graphite. I was just thinking about that today. Won't bleed into my acrylic paint or affect the first transfer. So for acrylics, I don't like graphite at all if I can avoid it. I will generally get a base layer. Let's say I'm doing an underwater scene. I'll do my dark blues and whatever, the fade from light blue to dark blue. And then I'll use a white charcoal pencil to draw everything in. Do I have it over here? Yeah. This is the white charcoal pencil I like. It is General's. It's all worn off, but it's a General's white charcoal. And this is what I draw if I'm going to draw directly on my canvas, or I draw it out on a piece of tracing paper and then use white transfer paper by Low Cornell and transfer the image onto it. But if I have to use a graphite pencil with, like, let's say the white charcoal isn't showing up and I do decide I'm going to use a graphite pencil, water soluble all the way. It will bleed. You'll get that grayish tint. It's just not that bad. Your acrylics are going to cover that more than they would just a graphite line. That graphite line likes to show through everything. Shannon Wolf said, for those who like to trace, I made my own transfer paper using a medium wash water-soluble graphite. The lines all vanish and it is so easy to make. I get many uses out of one. That is awesome. That is a good idea. You should make a video showing people how to make that. That is awesome. Oops. Tamara said, hello from Queensland, Australia. I'm currently working on a commission at the moment. Listening to you for hours in the background keeps me motivated. Very inspirational. Thank you. I think I would put myself to sleep. But then again, I'm used to listening to myself talk to myself. That's like my all day thing, me and Gibson talk. And I've been trying not to. So I am used to being home by myself all day. So I talk to my dogs all day long, or chicken. Like, I'm always talking to one of the animals, my fish. Doesn't matter. I'm talking to someone. I never shut up all day long. Because, you know, I'm by myself. I get bored. But now Matt is home working, and it's better if I'm not talking in the background when he's working on, you know, he's doing the phone calls and taking all of that, dealing with that all day. It's been hard for me to keep my mouth shut. I have a very hard time being quiet. Let's see. Jennifer just found out you can use chalk with chalk pencils. Yeah, they're pretty handy. Clark Fine Art said, I have the General's white and black, and I have a transfer paper by Low Cornell, but I'm curious because I have water-soluble graphite now too. I mean, the water-soluble graphite works. It doesn't show up that well though. I mean, no graphite really. Let's say I have a dark blue background. That graphite's not going to show up either way. But at the right angle, it'll show through the paint still. Like, it's the most frustrating thing. But let's say I was doing I had a really pale background. The white charcoal pencil is not really going to show. In that case, the water-soluble graphite is what I'm going to choose. So it just depends. What's the difference between these and watercolor? Watercolor will lift, where these really don't move much at all. These are permanent when dry. So, I mean, they smudge a little bit. Like, if you back the video up to the beginning, I showed how they will smudge, but not much. Where watercolor, you can pretty much lift that most of the way off the canvas or the paper. So with these, I work with them very similar to how I work with acrylics. It's almost like it takes my favorite parts with acrylic, my favorite parts about watercolor, and mixes them into one medium. Because I can layer and glaze in a way that I don't really do that much, or to that extent anyway, with watercolor. Shannon said, I used a piece of heavy tracing paper and just colored the backside. Oh, that makes sense with the water-soluble graphite. Which level pencil, like a B or what 2B? I don't know. What did you use on that? After, just go over it again and add more graphite. That is cool. Yeah, and make sure if you have questions for me, do the @Lachri Fine Art. If it doesn't highlight my name in orange, I just typically won't see the question. Mara Black said, your husband's not on his nights anymore. Hasn't that been a shock to your system? He still works nights, but earlier. Like, it moved back. He gets home like 3 or 4 hours earlier than he used to. He goes in a little earlier, gets home a little earlier. He also works now more days than he was. He was 3 or 4 days on, 3 days off. Now it's not that way. He has a different position. So that's all different anyway. So I've actually been getting, since we moved, I really got used to waking up a little earlier, so I made myself try to stay with that. So normally where I was like not getting up till 1 p.m. because I didn't go to bed till 6 or 7 a.m., I'm now up by like 9. I usually wake up, sometimes 8:30, which is crazy. So it's been kind of nice, mostly nice. Well, when things are open, it's nice to be awake when things are open. Whereas before it was like, hurry up before places close to get up and get ready to go. So I know that sounds crazy, but we did get up that late. So we've adjusted our schedules a bit anyway over the last few months. Like now, half the time midnight hits and I'm like, can't do it, going to bed. Whereas before I was up till like 7 in the morning. Hi, Tanu. Carlene said, being an artist actually is the best job during the COVID-19 home quarantine. Hope the situation is not yet crazy in your area. Oops, that scrolled too far. 1 second. Amazing artwork, by the way, as usual. Thank you. Right now, we don't have many cases in this area, but I mean, who knows how many are carrying it or not showing heavy symptoms, or, we don't know yet. So I'm really interested in when we are able to start testing people to see if people have an immunity to it, like that already, or had already had it, have the, like, if they can titer or whatever, to see if we've already been through it but had very mild symptoms. I'm really looking forward to that being something they're able to do. So, but as of right now, we do have a few cases, but not many, and especially not in this area. Like we have more cases kind of close by, but it seems to be more common in cities that are slightly larger. The one I'm in is fairly small, so far so good, but time will probably change that. Shannon said, I made 2 with, one with Derwent, talking about the water-soluble graphite transfer paper, one with Derwent light wash and one with a medium wash. Both worked well, and the kneaded eraser lightens it if you want to as well. Nice. That was really cool. Fuzzy Meow said, are they as luminous as watercolor, and do they show the layers beneath? It depends on how much water you add to it. So some of them are definitely more opaque, but some are very translucent. And like this, the colors that I put over it are going to be translucent. I'll thin them enough with water. They'll be translucent enough. You're going to see all of this detail that I've got in here. So it just depends on how much you thin it with water and which colors. Like I said, a few of them, like the white, completely opaque, but some of them are more opaque than others. But as far as being luminous, yeah, I would say so. But again, it just depends on how much water you add to it. The way I work, I tend to work a bit heavier handed with it. So a little bit more like I would with acrylics. So I'm not quite getting the glow of the white of the paper showing through. It depends. It depends on what I'm doing. Where did I go? Okay, we got that one. Jennifer said, what did you think of acrylic pouring? I just tried it before yesterday. It's really messy. Yeah, that's the only reason I don't do it more, I think. Like, I need to come up with a better setup that is like, yes, very messy. I love the look of that with something painted over it. So like using the acrylic pour as the background, love that. So I'm a huge fan of it. Messy. Yes, very messy. Maybe I could do some in the garage or something. I don't know. I'd have to clean the garage first, though. Let's see. Hello, Shiny said, hello, Lisa. It's nice to catch you before I go to New Zealand for next week. I hope to catch you again next Thursday. We'll be likely in quarantine, so I hope they have Wi-Fi so I can watch you. Well, stay safe. Traveling seems scary right now. Tanya said, hi, Lisa. Everyone has been asking how quarantine is going in a complaining mode. Doesn't that sound funny to you, given that we artists love to anyway spend time alone? Yeah, it's definitely not been hard for me at all. Like it's not something I can super relate to, but even when I was a kid, that's kind of always been my thing. I've always been able to amuse myself. Like we were talking earlier about your parents, when you said you were bored back when we were kids, it was like, well, I'll find something for you to do. But that was never really an issue. My sister was one who always was bored. She had to be entertained. I would go entertain myself. You give me some crayons and I am going to be entertained for most of the day. Or crayons or construction paper. I liked to make little houses for my toys. Like I would make a dog house for my stuffed animal or whatever, with tape or glue or whatever. I never had a hard time keeping myself amused. That wasn't really an issue for me. My sister, I have a feeling she's going to lose her mind by the end of this, because she definitely always liked to go out and go do things. Although I heard she is a bit more of a homebody than she used to be, so maybe this will be easier on her. I don't know. I'd imagine with her boys, she's got two boys who are like 11 and 9, or right, like very hyper age. I'd imagine this is harder on them right now, being that age and being boys. And they're normally like, they keep those boys busy. They have so many activities they do with them that I don't even know how they're going to handle this. I think my one nephew, the one that has Asperger's, he'll do okay, because you give him crayons and he is like, I was his kid. He's just like, this is what I'm doing right now. The rest of the world does not exist. So I think he'll be easier. Cash, the younger one, I think he's going to have a hard time staying entertained. Let's see. Hello, Shiny said, I have a big decision to make today. How much I pack of clothes, medicine, and art supplies. Oh, that is hard. I don't have answers for you there. Let's see. Where were we? Nate said, the whole virus situation is very bad, but I've had way more time to do art since I don't have school. Well, you know, looking at the positive of things is always, I think, a good way to go. Being worrying and such, it doesn't really help us. So I try to think of positive stuff. I don't really post a lot about being positive during everything, because some people get offended by everything. And I get that it's a stressful and scary situation. I mean, I have family members with health issues that I am going to be worried about if they get it, for sure. So I am definitely stressed, but it's like, just nonstop worrying doesn't help. I like to try to think of like, what are the positives of this situation? The positive is I don't live in my apartment anymore. That's for sure. Yeah, I've kind of refrained from going too much about it, because I've seen where people are like, will make jokes and other people like flip the heck out, or it's like, wow, you are really stressed right now. Mara said, we have 2 confirmed cases in this little igloo town, and my entire family in the next town. Even this cold, there was no defense. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I think there was one earlier today. I think there was one in my city. But I mean, again, we're talking about one who's confirmed. If one's confirmed, you've got many who are undiagnosed. So I don't know what the actual numbers would be. Carla said, wow, the wildlife reference pictures are so addicting. Oh yeah, I can spend hours there. They are amazing and very clear. I need a second job. My tip for you, if you buy photos from wildlifereferencephotos.com, and that's where I got the reference photo for my red panda here, you're going to pay it's $10 for 5 photos. Download those 5 photos now. They give you a month to download them. I can't tell you how many times I have wasted money because I forgot to finish. I'm like, oh, I'll go and choose my photos. I can't decide. I'll get them later. And I forgot. Now I have a personal rule, because I've done that too many times. If I'm buying a photo, I am like, the day I pay for it, I'm going to sit at this desk until I choose 5. Usually I choose my 5 before I pay, in case I can't decide. Like, I won't let myself, because I have wasted money. And at first they would like send them to me, but then it got to where their system it's not set up to do that. And I was inconveniencing them too much. They're like, yeah, you need to stop doing that. So I make myself, make yourself download your 5 photos that minute, that hour, whatever. Don't get up and wander away and forget about it. I have definitely wasted some money that way. Rachel said, mind you that I ask how long does it take you to finish your regular artwork? I think I might have missed part of your question, but as far as how long it takes me to finish my regular artwork, I usually have a piece done in 1 to 2 weeks, depending on like how elaborate it is. There was one, the lion with the coral, that took me a month. So depending, usually 1 to 2 weeks. Let's see. Where were we? Oh, this jumped. Hold on 1 second. Fuzzy said, can you layer light over dark? Yep, you absolutely can. If there's a big if, you use in the Inktense pencils don't work this way. If you get only 1 Inktense block, get the white. But if you layer white, let it dry. So you make the mixture like I'm doing here. If you let it dry, it will come up very opaque, and then I can put yellow, then I can put whatever color I want on top of it. If it's not opaque enough, put another layer of white. But it only works with a block. The pencils really don't go opaque enough to work that way. Carla said, oh wait, no, we got that one. Hold on, it's jumped again. I think that's it. Midwest Monster said, I'm impressed with how many lines you can pull before reloading the brush. I have to get a set of these. Oh yeah. And that's one of the things I like about this. Like when you do line work with acrylics, that's why when I say it feels like to me, some of my favorite parts about acrylics combined with my favorite parts about watercolor into one medium, because you can get these great lines that with acrylics, it's a little, you don't get that much mileage for each loading of the brush stroke. Oh, what just happened? All the text just disappeared. That was weird. Like I could see the little emojis, but I couldn't see text anymore. That was so odd. Okay, I think we're caught up there. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse my brush. I'll answer a couple more questions over the next, we've got 5 more minutes. But this will only take me like 10 minutes to go ahead and finish getting this line work in. Then I'm ready to start experimenting tomorrow night with the airbrushing of that background. I do it tonight, but I need to go do a water change on my fish tank. Has to be done tonight, so I have the empty buckets to go fill tomorrow. No one knows what I'm talking about. It's okay. Let's see. Nate said, I have the Inktense pencils and I've had problems jawing them. How to use them? Do I use them like the blocks? Go look up. There's a video I did, the cover of the Inktense tins that I did that have the dolphin. Watch that video. I'll show you how I used a bit of sandpaper, where like just cheap from the hardware store sandpaper, where you take the pencil and you can do it this way too. Actually, let me show you. You can do this with the pencil. I don't have any pencils out right now, but you can take a scratch piece of paper or sandpaper, take your block, take your brush, mix it. Now I can paint with that. This can be what I mix with, and you can do the same thing with your pencils. Your pencils aren't going to be it's not going to, it'll take more scribbling. It won't be as fast as what I just did with the block. But I can use this now is where I lift and can paint from. So I can do it the same if I do that way. I don't take though the pencil and go directly on, like I wouldn't go and line this with a pencil and expect that pencil will blur out. It'll smudge everywhere once you go on top of it with water the way I'm going to do on this. But if you watch the video that I did, the dolphin with Inktense, that one shows you how I can work just with the Inktense pencils. So I personally prefer to use both together because I like doing this for my line work and it's way easier with the blocks than with the pencils, but it can be done with the pencils. Watch that video. I'm pretty sure I went over how to do it in that. I know I did in the Patreon one. I think I did it on the YouTube one as well. I hope. Let's see. Whoops. Where am I? Carlene said, is it good to use acrylic paint for portraits, or does oil paint pencil still a better option? Hope you can create a demo for portrait and acrylics. I've done some acrylic portraits. They should be. Yeah, there's some on YouTube right now. There was the guy I did the portrait and he has his beard. Actually, it's his fish store I've got to go to get water tomorrow. But he has his beard that's made out of coral and fish. That one, that's an acrylics. You can definitely do acrylics, portraits in acrylics. I prefer them in oils normally, or pencils, but they absolutely can be done just as well in acrylics. Some of my favorite portrait artists only do them in acrylics. Let's see. Miriam said, did you see the IG story from the Good News Movement? Well, I don't follow them. Of the Couch Choir, 100 people from 18 countries singing close to you. Wow, that's crazy. No, I did not see it. Hi, Kentanu. Said, I just wanted to say big thank you to you. You're so awesome. Oh, thank you. You are the reason I am painting today. Wow, that is awesome to hear. Such a blessing that is. Thank you so much. Thank you. That is really, really awesome to hear. Let's see. Gail said, I saw in the news today YouTube was planning to decrease the resolution on all streaming worldwide. Did you hear anything about this? It wouldn't surprise me because I think a lot of people are streaming right now and your servers can only handle so much. So that doesn't surprise me or stress me out or anything like that, just because, I mean, as long as we can still talk and chat. If it means we just turn it into a Q&A and not an art demonstration, fine. I mean, you guys have seen where I had to do, what was it? Gosh. A few months ago, I was trying to do, I think, the critiques, and I could only get to like 480p. Like, it was terrible. We hung in there and we did it. So that doesn't super surprise me. As long as they keep running, I'm okay. Yeah, that is, That's my thought on that. Aowen said, that looks just so beautiful. You're such a great inspiration. Thank you. Nate Boss said, I joined in the Patreon a little while ago and have been staying up till like 2 in the morning watching the vids. That is awesome. That's so good to hear. And thanks for joining. Yeah, there's a lot. I need to go through. That's one. I've got a long to-do list. I need to, well, everyone else has extra time. I'm the opposite because I already work from home and then I tried to do the landscape. Now I lost a bunch of time. I'm so behind on stuff, but I need to go and update our Patreon library. I have not updated that in like 2 months. So there's probably, I'd say 5 or 6 videos I need to add to the library. You can get them still by going to Patreon and just scrolling down. They're going to be your most recent ones, but I definitely need to get that updated. Okay, let's see. Jenny said, thanks for another great stream. Thanks to Nick and Edgar and the Art of Joseph Fincham for moderating. Stay safe, everyone. What Jenny said. Yeah, and we are 10 o'clock, so we are good. Thank you guys so much for joining. A quick question here. Megan, you're unbelievable. Thank you. May I ask, were you taught professionally or did you teach yourself? I'm seriously thinking about signing up for your Patreon, but I don't think I'm talented enough. Okay, I'm really glad I caught that before I logged off because this is an excellent question. One, I taught myself. Trial and error. You do not have to be taught professionally. You do not need to go to school. That there's this idea that in order to be an artist, you have to go to college for it. You 100% do not. Don't go into debt to become an artist, I guess would be my goal there. If you can afford college, great. If you have to go in debt to do it, do not do it for art. I do not recommend. But anyway, no, there's so much you can learn from online, like Patreon or books or whatever, and trial and error. The big thing is you've got to be brave enough to go and make some ugly paintings. That's how you're going to learn. And as far as feeling like you're not advanced enough, I've heard this from a few people. They felt my stuff was too advanced. But the thing is, if you want to get better, you have to be following things that are too advanced for you. If you are like, I'm a beginner, I need to stick with beginner tutorials, you will forever be a beginner. You will never move past that. So what you want to do are find these tutorials that are far more advanced than you, that are like, that's what I want my work to look like. Jump in. Your work will not be as good as the project because you're a beginner. That's fine, but it's going to be a million times better than it would have been if you just followed something that was a beginner thing. The thing is, when you follow things that are for beginners, they're made to be more simple, and I've got a few of them. They're made to be more simple, and so you feel like you accomplished more. Like it looks so close to the beginner project. It was a beginner project. The project itself wasn't that great. Like what I painted wasn't that good as a beginner project. You want to jump into the things that are more advanced because you are going to learn so much faster. You will learn so much more, even though, yeah, your work isn't as close to the more advanced piece as it would be to the beginner piece. You'll learn a heck of a lot more from the advanced piece. That's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to move yourself from being a beginner to being more advanced. So don't be hesitant, whether it be me or anybody else. Jump into the advanced lessons, the advanced projects. Do not limit yourself to things for beginners unless you want to stay a beginner. Let's see. We've got a couple more questions we'll go through. Lobo said, is there any copyright issue with using my screenshots from live webcams? Aquarium has webcam set up. A lot of shots of beluga blowing a halo bubble from the blowhole. So yeah, they probably have. If you look at their stuff, they have copyrighted information there. They own the footage. They own all of that. Sometimes they will give artists permission to use it. Usually they will not. But yeah, in most cases, there should be like a copyright information somewhere on the website that will tell you all rights. They own all rights to all footage there. Now that you can watch the beluga, and I wouldn't pause it, watch it to see the movement. I like watching videos. Like I'll watch videos on humpback whales because you're really not going to get much in the way of reference photos there. I'll watch them to see how they move, but I'm not going to freeze it and trace it. I'm going to watch the movement and then sketch my own from what I've seen of that movement, how they move, all of that. There's a very big difference from watching the video and getting an idea of the movement of the animal and the shape to pausing it and tracing or copying exactly that frame, if that makes sense. You have no rights to copy it, but you can use it as an example and then draw your own without no pausing, no freezing, no screenshots, if that makes sense, as far as rights go. You're almost drawing more from memory at that point than that actual drawing. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, and just for transparency, not a lawyer. I'm just giving you my understanding of how this works, but I almost guarantee you their website has an all rights reserved thing on it, which means you can't freeze and take a screenshot of any of that and use it. Let's see. Good question, though. Gail says, thanks to Nick Edgar and the Art of Joseph Fincham. Carla said, thank you. Take care. Thank you guys so much too for joining. All of you who are here. Thank you so much. Rachel said, any advice for beginners like kids? I don't do anything that might be interpreted as for kids or advice for kids on this channel because of the new COPA rules, and nope. Sorry. I won't even answer questions if I know someone's a kid or a minor. I won't even answer their question. Actually, when I can tell it's a kid who left a comment on videos now, I just delete them. I don't jump into any of that because of the new rules and what could be interpreted as being intended for children. My stuff, not for kids, because I'm not getting myself into trouble. But advice for beginners, that's a little bit different. And that is just go and paint something ugly. Don't worry about making things perfect. Do your best. Try to improve. But don't stress yourself out about everything not being perfect because you're not going to learn as much. You're going to learn more from making mistakes and going, that doesn't look good. I'm not going to do that again. Let's try something else. That being willing to experiment, being willing to try different things, that you're going to improve with and get better way faster than somebody who's like super worried about every little brush stroke. Baby Panda says, thanks for another wonderful evening. Thanks for joining again. Susan said, love your work, love your video. Gotta run, life knocking on my door. Take care. Talk to you later. Thanks for joining, Susan. Okay, we are all done. Thank you everyone so much for joining. And next week, I have no idea what we're doing next week. I've got lots of projects I want to start. So, I mean, it'll be something. I just don't know what. I'll see you guys next week. Everyone, stay safe. Stay home. I'm preaching to the choir there. You guys are staying home. You're artists. I'll talk to you later. Bye.